This episode of Are You Scared is brought to you by the narrative horror video game Still Wakes the Deep, out now and available on PC, Xbox Series X and Series S, and PlayStation 5. This video contains content that some might find disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Have you ever had an itch you couldn't scratch? An irritation so unrelenting that you thought you might lose your mind? Tonight, our narrator tells the story of a mysterious noise that drives men to madness and death. This episode of Are You Scared is sponsored by Still Wakes the Deep, an interactive horror movie-style video game from Secret Mode and the Chinese Room. Still Wakes the Deep is a fully immersive and cinematic experience where you get dropped into the shockingly authentic world of the story. The spine-tingling tale is set in Christmas 1975. On an oil rig off the coast of Scotland. You have to navigate a collapsing oil rig to save yourself and your crew from an unknown horror on the edge of all logic and reality. Run, climb, swim your way to safety in this terrifying adventure. Still Wakes the Deep is out now on PC, Xbox Series X and Series S, and PlayStation 5. I'm Ryan Bergara, and this is Are You Scared? A show where I tell my friend Shane Madej the internet's scariest stories. So lock your doors, turn off the lights, and let's see if we can make it till the end of the night. I was woken up by the silence. Since I'd arrived on the platform a month earlier, there hadn't been 3 seconds of quiet. Every moment was a torrent of ocean waves crashing on the support columns, wind screaming through the gantry work, and above all else, the endless grinding of the drill.
What's a gantry?
A gantry, I believe, is like a part of like a drill structure.
It's a crane.
A crane, there you go. It's a crane.
A crane. Gantry.
Yeah.
It's one of those words I don't know because I haven't worked on an oil rig. I'll fess up, I never done time on an oil rig. I'd love to. Is that privileged to say that?
Maybe.
I'd love to. I like the sea.
It's hard to explain unless you've worked on an offshore oil rig, but you actually do get used to the noise.
Just offshore oil rig worker things.
Yeah, no, you get used to the noise. Things all offshore oil riggers should know.
Yeah.
Something we would have made at BuzzFeed. Eventually, it's the brakes and the noise that stand out like an air horn. That morning, the silence meant the drill had stopped. And the drill stopping meant we were in trouble. Our platform was state-of-the-art. Cadal's newest structure, built in what had, until recent breakthroughs in graphene, been a no-man's land for drilling companies. The sea floor was too far from the surface, and the oil underneath was too hard to find. Honestly, no one was sure why they chose to build it. No other company had set up a platform within 100 miles of us, but there we were. An international crew speaking 3 different languages, trying to operate a brand new drill so far off the coast of Japan that we may as well have been on the moon. Now, this sounds like something you wouldn't enjoy, because I know for a fact one of your deepest fears is being alone or being out in the ocean, in the deep sea.
I like a nice little fort, though, is the other thing.
Is that why you play Fortnite?
Zero build. No, they...
What does that mean?
I don't build forts.
Oh, I see.
I like the idea, though, that I'm in a structure
Yeah.
that is preventing, it's protecting me from the elements.
Yeah.
I like that quite a bit. It's like when you're in a very chilly room at night and you have a nice bit of covers, all except for your little face.
Yeah.
And you feel the cold. That's what I would be like on this oil rig. I'd be protected.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, something tragic and disastrous happened, which I'm sure won't happen here.
Yeah, seeing as how this is Are You Scared, I'm sure everything's gonna go peachy.
Japan, huh? They drill over there? I don't know. I'm not asking you to answer for all of Japan.
Seems like you are.
I'm just asking if you know.
I can only answer for half of Japan because I'm only half Japanese, and I will say, we be drilling. I pulled my hard hat on as I emerged on deck. All 3 crews were there, peering down into the water, each face as upset by the quiet as I was. The other 2 crew chiefs approached me. Yuri spoke only Russian, but Lee knew a little English in addition to his native Korean. Our primary form of communication came via translation apps on our phones. "Stopped," Lee said to me as he typed more into his phone. "Yeah, I can hear that," I replied, waiting for him to finish. After a couple seconds, his phone read in a robotic voice what else he knew.
3.5 miles deep. Drill working great. Sudden stop. System unresponsive. We need shut down and start up.
Could you imagine if we could only talk to each other through like a little Ovilus voice, like on Ghost Files?
That'd be
It
annoying.
would be the worst.
It also just not very timely for a pressing situation.
You'd probably be getting killed as you were typing. Ouch.
Oh my
ouch.
God! Lee died.
My leg. Bleeding. Ouch.
You know what I'm finding very interesting is that this story that you teased as being about a sound that drives people crazy starts with silence. Rich.
I turned to Yuri and waited for his phone to translate the information into Russian. He began shaking his head and typing. Finally, his phone read.
No shutdown. No communication for too long. Wait for supply ship. 3 days.
Not a good situation.
What's going on here?
Their ship, their oil rigger, is not working. And I guess, I don't know, maybe this is my ignorance about oil rigging. But I feel like if my drill didn't work, I wouldn't be like panicking. I'd be like, looks like we're just chilling for 3 days.
A little R&R.
This again. Yuri and Lee were both good leaders to their guys, but they disagreed on almost every big decision, leaving me to break the tie as the third crew chief. Lee wanted to reboot the entire platform, which would put us offline for 6 hours. It meant no contact with the mainland, but would also make it nearly impossible for Lee, Yuri, and I to communicate, as the SAT Wi-Fi would be down as well. SAT's short for satellite.
Oh,
Boat speak.
cool.
The SAT's down.
I didn't know that.
Not ideal. The drilling had been slow, and we were already falling weeks behind. Yuri's phone read out his counter-proposal. He wanted to wait until we at least had our supply ship's comm systems as a backup. That would certainly be safer, but it also meant 3 more days without drilling. Choosing between the two options was obvious. Radio to Kadal, tell them we have to do a hard restart. As Yuri's phone translated for him, I could see him start to protest. Before he could, 6 hours, Yuri, it will be okay. Enjoy the silence. Okay, so yeah, we're being set up here for silence, possibly bringing in something bad.
Yeah,
Nice detective brain on you.
I'm smart.
Okay, I take that back. When his phone translated, Yuri shook his head. I expected him to be mad, but instead, he looked worried. He typed into his phone, which translated.
Bad idea. Bad feeling.
No, it sounds like something I say to myself in the mirror every morning. Bad idea.
Bad idea to be you and awake.
Everyone has to have a mantra. Mine just happens to be negative. I turn to my wife in the morning and she says good morning and I say, bad idea. With that, Yuri stomped away. Lee waved him off and made his way to the control room to radio the mainland and begin the restart.
So the restart's gonna take 6 hours?
Yeah, so they're gonna sit there for a little bit, play some chess or something, or arm wrestle.
Maybe get to know each other a little bit, you know?
Like, physically, or?
Physically. Do a little wrestling, you know?
Oh, what kind of wrestling? You talking about like wrestling?
4 on the floor, baby.
Little bore on the floor?
Maybe a little bit.
I thought it was silent when the drill stopped, but when our electric systems and generators powered down, that's when it really got quiet. The crews found spots on the deck to play cards, read, anything to take up the time and keep minds off the fact that you are suspended 10 stories above the middle of the ocean on an exposed scaffolding. Well, when you put it that way, it doesn't sound that cool, because I'm kind of scared of heights.
It's not just scaffolding. There's it's a structure. It's a.
Yeah, but if you're out there on the gantry and you're just kind of chilling,
Yeah, okay, yeah.
a slight breeze maybe knocks you off.
I assume they have safety rails.
There's no safety on an oil rig, is there?
I think there's quite a bit of safety on an oil rig. I mean, except for when they blow up, They got safety, they don't want you to slip on a banana peel and go whoa, and then fall over the edge.
I wanted to show Yuri there were no hard feelings, so I asked him to play a couple games of Durik.
What is Dirac?
I don't know, it sounds like one of the monsters in Galaxy Quest.
It does.
It's a Russian card game, apparently.
Yeah, that scans.
By our second game, something was clearly bothering him. He was blinking hard and rhythmically, like an invisible finger was poking him every couple seconds, with Google Translate down until the systems finished rebooting. I tried to ask him if he was okay with a concerned look. Give me your best concerned look.
But we're playing a card here. We're playing Dirac.
I'm freaking out. I'm doing this. Here's my concerned look.
You look like you're about to bite me.
I don't think either of us are good at that.
I feel like all you need to do is
Yeah, a reach out.
and then to the heart.
I'd cut your fingers off. Yuri understood and pointed to his ear. I set down my cards and tried to listen for something. Yuri's finger started tapping on his ear every 5 or 6 seconds, and soon, I started to hear it. Every time Yuri tapped his ear, I could just make out a faint thud coming from what seemed like the floor. Thud. Silence. Thud. More silence. Thud.
This is what's making him blink.
See, I thought he was trying to do Morse code with his eyelids, because I've always wanted to learn Morse code in a situation where I was a hostage and maybe they're recording some sort of video and I could do Morse code back to my family to tell them the address or something like that.
Give me the best you got. Do you know Morse code?
Yeah.
Okay. You're selling it, but you don't actually know Morse code, do you?
I just said I'll take a double animal
You didn't
style.
say that.
I did.
No.
I did. No pickles, too.
No.
Look it up. Look it up. Viewers, look it up. I couldn't see anything on the surface bumping into the structure. Guys joined me along the railing, having heard the noise themselves. One of them, Hay, spoke in a panicked Korean to his crewmates, pausing only for the next thud. Every thud sent him to a new level of alarm, and soon his crewmates tried to get him to settle down. Lee made his way over and said something stern to Hay, and Hay spun on his leader. Hay waited until the next thud, then lunged at Lee. The other men and I all jumped to pry the men apart. 4 of us couldn't loosen Hay's grip until the next thud, when Hay relaxed and paused to listen. We seized our moment and dragged the man off of Lee. Hay looked around confused, then heard the next thud and began to weep. 2 men walked him inside as I helped Lee up.
These thuds are causing a lot of problems.
What just happened? What just happened?
You just got to put on some noise-canceling headphones and
That's
pop
what
on
I
a
was saying.
podcast.
Do a little Estes method up there.
Yes.
By yourself.
Yeah, I go far away when we do that.
This is why you got to carry a spirit box and headphones with you at all times, just in case you need to distract yourself.
You keep trying to justify that however you like.
I mean, it's a good idea.
Sure.
I'd be surviving and talking to your ghosts after you died.
It's true.
Think about it. On his feet, Lee looked at me. More problem, big, he said, and motioned for me to follow him. I got to my feet as the platform vibrated with another thud. Inside the control room, 2 of Lee's men huddled in a far corner, like they were afraid the switches were going to bite them. I glanced at the monitors and realized Lee hadn't even started the reboot. Sensing my anger rising, Lee put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Look." Lee flipped the breaker, and on a monitor, a message flashed. 0%, 1%, 2%. Then, a thud sounded across the room. Inside, it seemed louder, seemed to last longer. It felt almost deliberate. I shook my head and looked back to the monitor, but it was off. The thud had interrupted the restart. Well, I mean, whatever this thing is, I guess knows they were trying to restart the oil. Oh! I think the oil rig, the drilling, makes a lot of noise, obviously, so this thing isn't able to, like, do its little monster stuff.
It's an oil daddy.
Yeah.
We ran into one of these before on Are You Scared?
An oil daddy?
An oil daddy. We've had oil rig drama on Are You Scared before.
We have, you're right.
It's rich territory because it's a scary place to be an oil rig. And I believe they woke up an oil daddy deep in the depths.
That's correct.
Yeah. This almost feels like a spiritual successor to that.
Maybe.
I hope we have so many oil rig stories by the time this series comes to a close 65 years from now.
65 years, 65 oil daddies.
Yeah.
Collect the whole set, we'll stop playing cards. No restart, all times. Lee tried once more to restart the panel, but when the next thud sounded, the system shut itself back off. If the noise didn't stop, it appeared we were going to be without electricity, unable to drill, and without communication. It's weird that they ordered the priority of that, unable to drill first, without communication second.
You know,
I guess if you're a driller,
they're
you gotta be
consummate
drilling.
drillmen. You understand, though, that they're not each drilling.
They're not out there on like a jackhammer in the sea like this?
No, the whole unit itself is one giant drill.
No, I know, but wouldn't it be funny if they were all out there like...
On what? The surface of the water?
It'd be like one of those very long drills. You know how like in Mario when he's like floating and doesn't he have like a big drill he sits on?
I don't think Mario sits on a big drill, but I
think-
could be mistaken.
No, you're probably right, but he should.
Is there a Mario where he drills for oil? Is that a thing?
You know, it might be.
Super fracking
Imagine
Mario.
these guys. Imagine these guys drilling to that underwater theme. I looked at Lee and tried to remain calm. We told Kadal we were restarting. When we don't radio back in 6 hours, they'll send the supply ship early, probably with some extra engineers and new generators. A day and a half, 2 nights without electricity. We'll be fine. Lee's face just stared at me in confusion. Not only would communication with the mainland be impossible, but communication between the 3 teams on board would be as well. Over the rest of the day, the thudding only got more intense. People stopped playing cards and reading. In the silence between thuds, all you could do was brace your mind against the next thud. Even the massive drill structure seemed exhausted.
Would you get on a little boat and just leave? I think I would.
I mean, if you're in the deep sea, I don't think a dinghy is gonna cut it.
How far?
Well, especially if you got some sort of monster down there. I mean, what do these guys think?
They gotta get to and from the place,
Well,
right?
what do they think these thuds are? It could be just like big waves, I guess.
Kaiju?
A kaiju? Like the kaiju?
So just one? I thought kaiju was just a sort of a...
It is, but there is like, Godzilla would be like the kaiju.
He's the big guy.
He's huge.
Something stirring in the deep.
The thud throbbed around us, and all we could do was wait for the next one. By dinner, morale was deteriorating. Men began whispering in all 3 languages, theorizing about the thud. A whale, a giant squid, mermaids. Guys drew pictures to tell the other crews about their theories. One of Lee's men started scribbling a solid circle, dark and hard. He tore a hole in the paper and kept drawing on the table underneath. When Lee said something to him in Korean, the man stood bolt upright. He grabbed 4 plates of food from the guys around him and stormed out. All of the Koreans...
He's stacking? You grabbed 4 plates?
Oh, I guess. I don't know why he's grabbing the...
It's funny because he is like, that's a disturbing thing to see, a man just drawing a circle and then standing up. But then for him to be like...
But what if he started twirling all 4 of them?
Well, that's impressive.
Then you'd be like, this is entertainment.
Yeah.
Keep drawing your little Doctor Strange portals on the paper. I don't care. As long as you keep twirling them plates, buddy.
It's sort of a classic, like, child in a horror movie thing, right?
Drawing circles.
Not unlike the hole that they're drilling.
All of the Koreans but Lee ran after him. Lee turned to me and said it's hungry. I got to the deck just as Lee's man threw the 4th plate down. We all peered over the side. Though without the lights, we lost sight of the food as the sunset glinted off the sea.
Oh, I didn't realize he's throwing food into the ocean?
Yeah, because he said it's hungry.
I guess I'm imagining the drill is probably a big hole.
Yeah.
He's throwing little plates of
Yeah, whatever would be down there would probably be giant.
chicken piccata.
Yeah, they're not
I
gonna...
don't think that's what it wants.
Chicken tenders ain't gonna get it
I feel like
done.
the hole wants to eat people.
Like, imagine if, like, you were angry and to appease you, some ants gave you, like, ant food.
Yeah, you'd be like, I'm starving, and you gave me a little breadcrumb or something.
Like a little tiny version of popcorn. Actually,
Little tiny
that sounds pretty good.
LTP.
So I would just lick them up with my tongue like a dog. I turned to go back to the mess hall, but stopped. Behind me was Yuri, wide-eyed and drooling. He started speaking Russian at me at a frantic pace. Spit flew from his mouth as his voice got louder. Suddenly, the platform let out another thud, and Yuri's head snapped back to a sickening extent. It looked like he had broken his neck, but his head lolled back around, still yelling Russian. Another thud, and his head again snapped at another unnatural angle. I yelled for help. Something was seriously wrong. You think?
Something's a little weird here.
Guys, Yuri just turned himself into a Pez dispenser. I think there might be something wrong, and there's no Pez coming out of his neck. You don't like Pez?
It's one of my favorite things in the world.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
It's so satisfying.
Eat it without the guy. I don't even need the guy.
You don't even need a little...
I just eat the pellets.
That's probably a dated reference at this point. I don't think they even sell Pez.
No, they're out there. I bought a Trolls one recently.
As men gathered around, the platform rang with the loudest thud yet. Yuri's head snapped so far back. Oh, God! Okay, this gets so much worse. I thought it was over.
He's still snapping.
He's still pop-locking, paranormally, that is. Yuri's head snapped so far back that the skin around his throat split, shooting a thin sheet of blood over the deck.
Oh my God.
I think he's gonna die.
I feel like if I wanted it to split, I'd have to go pretty far back there, though.
I don't think you could do it.
No.
With his head still cocked backwards, Yuri started sprinting towards me. I ducked to the side, and Yuri leapt over the railing, falling 100 feet into the sea. I know this is obviously horrific. It is kind of funny to imagine somebody with their head just like all the way back while sprinting and their head's just... I just saw the next sentence. What do you think the next thing they did was after they watched Yuri snap his own neck, slit his own throat, and jump over the railing?
throw them a life preserver? Do they?
We threw the lifesavers down, but it was hopeless.
No, he doesn't seem to want that.
He was having trouble standing on land. I wonder what we should do. Yuri was gone, leaving only Lee and me in charge of our island of unknowable horrors in the middle of nowhere. That night, no one got any sleep. It wasn't the thudding that kept us awake, but imagining what was causing it. Earplugs didn't help. Music didn't help. By the morning, we weren't just hearing the noise. We could feel it. I don't buy that music didn't help. It's fucking bullshit.
Put on a Pitbull.
Yeah, you put on some Mr. 305, you're having a great
Doing
day.
all right.
You put on some Sugar Ray every morning,
Oh, baby.
there's no way I'm not gonna be smiling. I'm gonna
Yeah.
be like, all right, Mark.
Yeah.
You know, fight
That's
back.
how you fight the whole.
You fight the whole back.
I think it's safe to say that in our lives, metaphorically, we've all got a hungry hole.
We all have a hungry hole.
You know, there's a hungry hole in your life and you gotta fight it.
We could see the metal around us vibrate with it. If you closed your eyes, you swore you could taste it.
Feed the hole, taste the hole.
The hole is near. I could feel it. I could even taste it. Men started moving about aimlessly, walking from one side of the deck to the next. Marching in a circle was all we could do. What the
That's not all you can do.
You can do so many more things. Your solution is to just walk around in a circle?
It sounds like they're getting hole-pilled.
Yeah. We just needed to make it through this day. Then sometime in the night, the supply ship should arrive. Everyone had stopped speculating about what was making the noise. We all just wanted it to stop thinking about it for even 1 minute. Would this drive you insane, by the way?
It sounds like it's doing that.
Well, I mean, but I feel like you have a pretty strong mind.
I think I'd be one of the last to slit my own throat and jump off the ledge, yeah. You know, I'd be a bit of a holdout, but
A holdout.
yeah, I think I'd get there eventually.
I'd give myself a day before I lost it.
I'd give into the hole.
You always have to give into the hole at the end.
Hey, you said it.
After lunch, the chef took Lee and I aside and told us a couple of his knives had gone missing. We told him to lock the rest up until the supply boat came, but the look he gave us made it clear he didn't trust us. You want to hear like the salami's missing or something like that, but like his like stabbing stuff? No.
Yeah, knives bad. Yeah.
At dusk, one of Lee's men started walking with a sledgehammer across his back. Everyone kept to himself now. Even the men who could understand one another weren't talking. Everyone exchanged threatening looks, some even baring teeth, mumbling to themselves. It was like a mental asylum with only patients. Minutes passed in a panicked daze. The thud would ring out, and I would be staring out across the ocean. Then I'd have no memory until another thud, when suddenly I was facing a wall in a supply room. Another thud, and I was in the control room, holding a knife I'd never seen before.
Fugue states.
Yeah, fugue states, yeah.
Thuds happening, you're sort of forgetting where you are. And Yuri jumped off. I'm surprised it didn't affect more people quicker. It seems like,
Maybe a couple other jump off, you're saying? Or
oh
like,
yeah, I'm crazy now too. Here I go.
doesn't seem like anybody was particularly sad that Yuri died either. I mean, they threw a life preserver. That's the least you could do. No one was like, I'm
Yeah,
sad.
they didn't have a little funeral, but they got thuds to worry about.
That's how quickly you'd forget me, huh?
Knives are going missing. Salami's going missing. You think I'm worrying about your dead ass? All due respect.
Another thud. The knife was gone, and I was sitting on the deck, feet dangling over the edge. In one moment of lucidity, I scrawled on my arm, supply ship. Someone had to remember help was on the way. With night, men were openly weeping across the platform, tearing at their hair, pulling at clothes. Brutal fights were breaking out. The man with the sledgehammer dislocated Lee's shoulder with it, and Lee started going for the man's eyes. No one stepped in. Men would fight until the next thud, then turn as if nothing had happened and shuffle off. Some were bleeding from huge gashes, though they hardly seemed to notice. With every thud, I was less clear where I was, who I was. The only thing that would bring me back was the supply ship reminder on my arm. Well, I mean, if you're seeing your little reminder works, why not tell the rest of the group? End of thuds.
End of thuds?
Yeah, well, if you just write in your arm, thud's not real.
Well, thud I think is real.
No, but if you remind yourself that like, hey, don't...
We're waiting for something. Don't worry about the thuds. Stop tearing each other's eyeballs out.
Yeah, stop
Stop
stabbing each other.
weeping.
Exactly. Around 2 a.m., Lee hollered. Flickering barely on the horizon was a light. The supply ship. It was here. Our nightmare was almost over. The thudding, however, began to change. What was already unbearable became even worse. Each thud felt like it came from inside your own brain, shaking your bones from the marrow. Thuds came more rapidly, like an excited heartbeat. With white knuckles, we gripped the railing and focused on the ship, moving steadily towards us through the clear night. Down! Lee's voice sounded afraid as he pointed to the surface of the sea below our platform. There, swirling around the support columns, we could just make out the form of a wave, moving in circles around the structure. I looked up to the supply ship. I could make out the men moving about on its deck. It was almost here.
Oh, Hole gonna eat the ship.
Hole might eat the whole
Hungry
structure.
Hole, you feed it a ship? Ooh.
Maybe there's no like thing below. It's just like the earth itself is making strange noises
Mother Gaia.
to make people go nuts.
Gaia.
Like earth is like fighting off the infection.
Mother Gaia.
Yes. What does that mean?
Mother Gaia.
Okay. Is that like something from like Avatar or something?
Gaia.
All right. Suddenly, the wave shot away from the platform, straight towards the supply ship. As the wave moved away, a huge weight felt like it had been suddenly lifted from my brain. I shook my head, relief flooding my mind and body. The thudding had stopped.
Well, this is good news, though.
No, I don't think so.
It sounds like good news. I think we've got ourselves a happy ending here.
I think it's going to the supply ship, and now it's going to fuck them up.
Oh, the thud's gonna be like, hang on, guys. Go over to the supply ship. Thud, 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 thud. All the people on there go, kill themselves. That comes back. Okay.
I looked out to the supply ship, now only minutes from us. The wave was almost to it, but that hardly seemed to matter. The ship was large. The wave wasn't anything it wouldn't easily pass over. When the wave was almost to the boat, the water suddenly went still. The wave, it appeared to our beleaguered eyes, had simply vanished. The boat continued towards us, and the other men on deck, now free from the thudding, waved their arms and yelled in delirious excitement. As the boat got to within shouting distance, something inexplicable happened. The enormous boat, without hitting anything or even stopping, suddenly vanished beneath the water, as if it had been sucked down to the bottom of the ocean floor in an instant. I told you, hole gonna get filled somehow. Big boat?
Yeah.
No more big boat.
It sounds like a big boat.
If it was able to suck that boat down,
It sucked a boat.
why wouldn't it just suck the oil rig down? Why was it toying with these guys?
I think it's tough to suck a rig.
Boat,
Easy suck job.
easy suck job, but rig way up here.
That's a tough
It's gonna
sucker.
take a couple big sucks.
tough suck.
At least 3 sucks.
Yes.
Well, let's see if the rig's gonna get sucked. We all stood stunned, staring at the bubbling ocean where our salvation had been floating only seconds ago. There was no debris, no men, no evidence a boat had ever been there. When the ocean smoothed back over, all that was there was a wave, moving in tight little circles. After a minute, the wave crept slowly back to our platform, where it plunged beneath the surface. A deafening thud sounded out.
God, no! You hate to hear the thud come back.
We got one more sentence here.
Oh!
And then it went away. We're all good.
Oh!
No, I'm just kidding. Whatever reprieve we had from the unknowable horror, it was over now. Wait, what? Is it all good? Wait, it is good. They made it out unsucked. I guess. No?
One more time.
Whatever reprieve we'd had from the unknowable horror, it was over now. Oh!
No reprieve.
No,
No
they're-
reprieve.
They're gonna die. Yeah.
They're gonna die.
It was comma. It was over. It's over for us now, not it was over now.
Yeah.
You know.
Game over.
That would be funny if that's how it actually happened to them. They're like, oh, we're gonna live. Thud. No, we're gonna die. That's the end of the story.
Very sad.
What do you think the horror was? What do you think this
I think it's the hungry hole.
hole needs to be filled, hole needs to be fed?
Hole will be filled.
Like a sad analogy for life.
Oh.
We're all just things to fill a hole. We'll fill a casket-sized hole at some point.
yeah.
And once you accept that, maybe you're okay being turned into a human Pez dispenser.
I mean, ideally, that doesn't happen to you.
You don't always get what you want. There was a
That's
song.
true.
There was
You
a
got a
song
point.
written about that.
Yeah.
Of all these deaths, which one would be the one that you would probably choose?
I go out like my man Yuri.
Decapitating yourself?
Why not?
Getting hit by a sledgehammer?
You know, nice bit of sizzle before you go.
And his head's dangling. He's probably thinking, I've never seen the world from this vantage point before. Look, I'm looking at my butt cheeks.
What a beautiful day.
Well, because his head's like hanging on the back of his
That's
like,
true.
back. Or
Little
getting
flare.
sucked down by a sentient wave.
Getting sucked to death. Yeah. Not bad.
That sounds horrible.
Well, this was a beautiful story.
Yeah, it was great. I'm glad we had time to discuss this beautiful
Yeah,
tale.
it was nice to spend this time with you and learn about these men.
So, are you scared?
You know what would kick ass is if they pulled out and they were in a giant toilet.
Yeah, dude, that's so much better, because I was thinking, what if it was just like a giant shop vac, but
That's
much
not as
better.
good, a big
Not as
toilet.
good, because sometimes you could use a shop vac to clean up water. I've done it
Yeah.
before, but like a toilet, that would mean.
That's how I would do it.
Shall we get out of here? Because that's
Is
it.
there a way out of here?
Well, for those of you who made it, see you next time. This episode of Are You Scared is brought to you by the narrative horror video game Still Wakes the Deep, out now and available on PC, Xbox Series X and Series S, and PlayStation 5.